Hello! So today in Microsoft Flight Simulator we're going to be taking a look at General Mitchell Airport in Milwaukee. So this is Mike Kilo Mike Echo, the ICAO code for General Mitchell in Milwaukee. So we're going to have a little fly around the airport in the drone camera. So full disclosure, this is an Inibuilds airport and they've kindly given me a copy of it to show to you. So it's a new airport that's been developed and it's very, very good. I'm really impressed. So if we go and have a look around some of the features and the buildings and the assets around the airport, so you can see the quality of modelling is very, very good. So if we continue on around, you can see all of the markings on the ground look great. Texturing of the various areas is really nicely done. So you've got general aviation parking up in this corner of the airfield, various airplanes dotted around on the static displays, and hangars and service buildings. So if we take off and fly further down, you've got a military part of the airfield over here, so you've got some KC-135s parked out on the stand here. So this is the 128th Air Refueling Wing. So again, even this part of it is really nicely modelled with the various buildings, and even you go down to the refueling trucks and the APU trucks, or sorry, the ground air trucks and things like that. It's really nice. Various military buildings. There's a solar farm array here. Okay, so down at the far end of the main runway here in Milwaukee, or one of the main runways I should say, so this is one left. You can see there's more support buildings around the edge of the airfield, and it's all really nicely modelled. But it's nothing compared to the terminals. You wait till you get to see the gates. So you can see there's the practice fire aircraft down here for the fire crews to practice their procedures with. It's quite often you see those on the edge of the big international airports, don't you? And come down to the engine testing area with all the baffles around it. So yeah, even this has been modelled in quite some detail. It's impressive. We've got various bits of the airfield have got commercial buildings, like you can see Cessna's over there. Rockwell have got some buildings as well, closer to the terminals. So we're just going to have a quick fly around just to give you an idea. So I apologise for the stuttering, that's just Flight Simulator using its usual single-threaded goodness, where it tends to fall over itself when it's trying to do too much. So you've got radar there, and we'll come further down this way. Lots and lots of elements on the ground, like the baggage and logistics, obviously down here, down this way. So there's a Phantom over here, a static display on the ground on the way in. It's very cool, isn't it? If we continue on round, there's getting closer to the actual main airport buildings. Because this is General Mitchell Airport, you can see we've actually got a Mitchell. It's really nicely modelled as well. Okay, so if we zoom ourselves back up into the air, let's go and have a look around. So we've got the car parks, and they've modelled every floor of the car park. Obviously they've only put cars on the top because that would be insane to fill the whole thing up with cars. But even so, the car models are really good ones. quite surprised at just how good they are. So we come round the rotunda part for the ramps for the car park, again, which are modelled really nicely. It's Car Park City, isn't it? And we finally get round towards the main part of the airport. So we're going to go and have a wander around the airport. It's a huge place, isn't it? Very, very impressive. So we're going to start to see lots of people, and this is something that's been a bit of a standout for me with this airport. It's just how many people have been modelled into it. It's really impressive. So obviously you can see there's a few people stood along here, and if we fly along the walkway past the main entrance to the airport, so the main arrivals and departures building has not been modelled, but several of the gates have. So we're going to fly quickly past here and come back round the other side just to show you this, that they've modelled it. So you've got drop-off points along here. It's amazing to me when they take the care to do the various bits of signage along the way. It's very cool. Okay, so we'll pop up through this gap in the skylight here and we'll make our way out towards the gates. So as you can see, there's lots of static vehicles around. It's really nicely done. There's a clever trick with some of the walkways where it looks like they've got a 3D interior, but you can't actually go inside it, but it gives you the idea with it being very good on frame rate. So if it starts to get noisy, I'm running FSLTL in the background, so we might get the airfield start to fill up with aeroplanes at some point. We'll see. So yeah, as I said, the terminal has been modelled, so we'll go and fly down to the end of it and then come back down through it. So the gates, or sorry, the jet bridges are custom as well. They're really nicely done. But you're starting to see through the glass there what we're about to go look at. It's quite stunning, really. These have to be some of the best airport interiors I've seen in the simulator. Mostly because of the number of people they've populated them with. It has that air of it looking somehow real, but frozen in time in a strange sort of way. It's odd, isn't it? And the quality of the models is very good. So when you get close to the people, they don't break down into kind of distorted blobs. They're very nice models of the people as well. So we can come down into this central atrium area where there's obviously coffee shops and things like that. We've all been to airports, we all know what they look like. But this appears to be a very good rendition of this airport, so I imagine people who've been to Milwaukee and been through this airport, this is going to be a bit of deja vu for them, I guess. Even things like some of these well-known pieces of the airport infrastructure, they've taken a lot of care to represent it properly. So as we come out to the far end of these gates, we'll fly through the glass and take off. So there's our aeroplane we'll be having a look at in a moment, just to take it through its paces, get it ready and take it out to the runway. We're not actually going to do a full flight today. We're really here to look at the airport today. So come back around the gates here and over to the next gate. So we just try and straighten this camera up. As I said earlier, the roll rate on the drone cameras is a bit of something they've missed in Flight Simulator. They've never quite got it right. So we have another gate with the interiors done. Obviously this one doesn't have people, but the structures are a lot more complicated here, so I imagine that's why. But it's really nicely done, isn't it? If we go back outside, even from the outside this one looks, obviously it's a well-known piece of infrastructure, so they've taken the care to model it nicely. Okay, so that's 2 of the gates. There's another gate over here. We'll just quickly whiz over and have a look at this gate as well. But yeah, this just gives you some idea just how much care and attention has gone into this. It's amazing, isn't it? It really is something else. I've never seen Flight Simulator represent the gates this well. So kudos to Inibuilds for this one. Okay, so we go over to our aeroplane and we'll get the aeroplane fired up just enough to go and have a taxi around and take it out to the runway. I think we're departing 7 left. I'll check. I've got the flight plan set up in Navigraph running in the background, so we can go and refer to it as we get ready. So that's not ours. Ours is down the end, I think. So yeah, here's that rotunda area. Look, from outside it's very impressive, isn't it? So we flew through the middle of it a moment ago. Very, very cool. So here's our aeroplane patiently waiting for us to go and fire it up. So this is the Inibuilds A300. Okay, let's go and put the drone camera to one side and go and sit inside the aeroplane. I'm just going to open up my notes on how to start the aeroplane up because I can never remember anything. And first of all, we're going to go Alt-6, which will go to the tablet, ensure the ground power is connected. So I think you do that via the... Oh, we'll import this from SimBrief, by the way. So we've got the A flight programmed in. Like I said, we're not going to fly it. So yeah, make sure ground power is connected. So ground equipment, toggle ground power unit, that's already connected, that's good. So then Alt and 1 will take us overhead. We want to go and turn the battery switches on. Make sure the external power is on because we have it available. APU start switch, so Alt and 2 takes us further down. So I've got custom views set up for this to make our job easier. So APU start switch is on and then press the start button. Then we go back overhead and we turn the IRS switches to nav mode. Then we put the display select to heading STS. It won't show anything just yet. We have to go back down to the MCDU to make that happen. So we go Alt 4, and that shows us the initialization screen, and it's saying align IRS at the moment, so we can clear all the messages. And we're going to go and fetch our flight plan from the ACARS system. So we're going to request from SimBrief. It's pending. There's our flight plan, and that gives us align IRS, which is all we need for the moment. And then we can use the tablet performance to get the performance data. So I have to try and remember what the key was for the tablet now. If I got a shortcut for it, let's have a look. Yeah, so Alt and 6 took us to the tablet. So if we go to now I've got it written down here. Use the tablet performance app. Except I don't appear to have a performance app. I can update this from SimBrief, apply that load to the aircraft. Okay, I think all I'm referencing here on my notes is that you can go and get this from SimBrief basically. So we can sync this, then we can calculate, and that will give us our numbers. So 155, 155, and so on and so forth. We've already loaded the aeroplane, which is really quick in this aeroplane to do that. So then we can go back over to the MCDU, and we can put in our cost index, so we can look that up on our SimBrief flight plan even, 25. So we can see that I've obviously got this on fast alignment because it's updated the accuracy of the INS system. We'll put a flight number in, so VFL 123. And then we can go next page. Now, can this auto-populate? Yes, it can. Brilliant. So we've populated the fuel. Will it get the... It won't get the centre of gravity for us, so we'll have to go and fetch that. So we'll go back over here. And now, is it the gross weight centre of gravity? I can never remember this. So that's 30.9. So let's go Alt 6. So this may be wrong, so don't take this as red. Whoops. Don't take this as red that I've got this right. 30.6. No, we want the zero fuel weight centre of gravity. Let me go and correct that. ZFWCG. That's the performance data. We want the weight and balance data. Zero fuel weight. 28.5. Okay, so all 3 to 8.5. Helps if you get things right. Next page, that all is good. So we can go into the flight plan and we can go and set the standard instrument departure up. So we're doing the MKE9. We're taking off. I'm just going to double check this. Runway, where's the routing instructions? 7 right. Okay, and insert that. And we've got a discontinuity. That's because there's a manual step here. So we can clear out that manual step and then we can clear the discontinuity. Again, we're not doing this properly, so before anybody jumps on me and says you shouldn't do that sort of thing, don't worry. So we'll go down to the end of the route. So KLGA, go into the start, make sure we've got the correct one. It's the HARP 4, it's the RKA transition, and we're doing ILS into runway 22. I only know this because I looked it up a few minutes ago. That's interesting. There we go, insert. So that's all done. So we've got the basics programmed into the computer, so then Alt 1 takes us back overhead. We go and put the ground control switch to on, then put the no smoking signs on, which are somewhere along here. I can never remember where half this stuff is on, because I fly on so many different aeroplanes. If I don't do them repeatedly, here we go, no smoking's over here. If I don't use the planes all the time, then I forget where things are on different aeroplanes. Okay, so the lights, we want the strobes to auto. We want the nav and logo lights to 1. Then ATS to on or up. Again, if you haven't got INS alignment, you won't be able to do this, so your dampers and pitch trim can go on. All the window heaters can now go on, so we've got window heaters now over here. And the probe heats, captain standby and first officer, can go to on. Flight guidance computer of FGCP, I should say, flight guidance computer panel. So that's this area here, which controls the autopilot. I'm going to put the decision height to on. Going to set it to -5. And then on the primary instruments, we're going to calibrate the barometric pressures on the altimeters, and we're going to uncage the backup altimeter. And this, okay, so is this oh sorry, uncage the attitude indicator I should say, not the backup. That's me, I'm not reading my own instructions correctly. So let it stabilise. Set the landing elevation, so we can do that while we're in flight, and again we're not doing the full flight today, we're just going to take off. So the APU will be up and running by now, so we can bus transfer, or the bus transfer will have happened automatically, so we can go and turn the external power off. We can then go and get rid of the ground equipment for the ground power unit, and we prepare for engine start. So overhead we go and put the beacon lights on. We put all the fuel pumps on, so they are here. So all of this is just so we can taxi around and go and have a look around the airport. Going to fly out, or taxi out to runway 7 right. Fuel pumps are on, so APU bleed. We need to go and put the APU bleed on. And the crossfeed shows a horizontal line. We can now push back if we want to. So yeah, we will need to push back. So I'm just going to press Shift P to do this quickly, and we'll push back in a straight line. Well, that's interesting. It's pushing back without the truck, which is fascinating. And I don't appear to have full control of my controls. So I'm sorting that out now. There we go. I have a recurring USB issue. So while pushback is happening, we can go overhead, we can turn ignition to system A, and we can open the starter. You can see engine number 2 is coming up. We wait for 20% on N2. And there it goes, and then we can advance the start lever, which will introduce fuel and ignite. Let's have a look from outside, see where we are. So again, you wouldn't push back in a straight line in reality. So we're going to stop the pushback, put the parking brake on, we'll sit here for a moment while we start the engines. So we're just waiting for this engine to stabilise. We can see the power has now switched over to the engine. We're no longer using the APU for power for that side of the aircraft. Okay, so we can go and start engine number 1, so it opens the APU valve. You'll see the N2 increasing, engine number 1. It's starting to come back to me now. I was very rusty when I started this video about how the A300 worked. It's all coming back to me slowly. I've not flown it for a while. Okay, so advance the start lever, engine number 1. Fuel is introduced, so you can see here the exhaust gas temperature rises, obviously the turbofan speed increases. Very good. So we'll wait for it to stabilise. And then overhead we can go and turn off the ignition system now. We can turn the APU bleed to off, and we can turn the master switch for the APU to off. So back in the cockpit we can now pull the arming lever for the speed brakes, which means it's just pressurized, so it means it'll be ready to stop at a moment's notice and push out the spoilers to help us slow down. We can set the flaps for takeoff, so that will be 15 degrees, I believe. but we're only going to go as far as taxiing out, so we can taxi. So, in order to taxi, we need to go and put the taxi lights on, obviously. So nose lights go to taxi. And during the taxi, but we'll do this first, you would typically go and set your data for takeoff. So you go and set your initial heading, which will be 70 degrees in our case for the runway, but you can check it against the chart as well. So if we go and get Navigraph and go and have a look at our airfield here, you can see, so we're going 7 right, so we're going to double back on ourselves. So we'll go a bit of a roundabout route to get there, so we get to look at some of the airport. The actual runway direction is 76 degrees, so we're going to set that as 76 on our heading here. We're going to go for an initial altitude of 10,000 feet, just because that's the 250 knot marker, and we'll set our initial speed for climb to say 200 knots or 180, something like that. Obviously then we can take over with a better speed during the climb according to what we want to do. Okay, so we can also go and pre-select, because we've got the alignment done, we can also go and pre-select nav mode. We can pre-select, we could go, can we do profile while we're on the ground? That surprises me that we can, but normally you might initially go for a vertical speed for takeoff. That's interesting that it goes that way around. So we might say 15 or 20, which is 2,000 feet a minute. So you could do that. So we'll say vertical speed mode just until we've got the aircraft stabilized, and then we could go for profile mode. There's 100 ways you can control the aircraft, and obviously you could arm auto throttle, but you wouldn't do that until you're rolling. Okay, let's go and have a little taxi around then to have a look at this airport from the flight deck. So we can see we've got some positive thrust immediately, so that's probably my fault. I don't think my throttles are quite configured as they should be. No, they're not. I've got, my idle point isn't in the right place. So let's turn the head tracking on just while we are taxiing out. So go out to the taxiway. You get to see some of this airport as we taxi out. As I said, I'm going a bit of a roundabout route just so we get to be nosy. It's a heck of an airport, isn't it? So the reason, I think, I'm just going to check this. Have I got the correct profile set up for the controller? Is that why the idle point for the throttle is in the wrong place? Yeah, I've got the Airbus A310 setting. Look, I want the Inibuilds Airbus A300. It's slightly different in terms of controller configuration. Apologies for this. We will get there. There it was. So apply, go back, resume. Now we won't go accelerating off down the airport like a dragster. Obviously in the real world we would stop here and wait for clearance, but there's no other aeroplanes around. For some reason FSLTL is not kicking in. It should have been. I find it quite unreliable. Sometimes it works wonderfully, other times it doesn't. So let's go and have a look at Navigraph. We should see we are going exactly the wrong way actually. So we're going to double back. We really are doing a roundabout trip around the airport, which is good fun. Okay, so we're going to double back here to get back towards the runway where we should be. Serves me right for not looking at the chart. But again, it gives us more opportunity to see some of this airport. So we're going to take the wrong turn here. Purely because we can. And we're going to go down towards 7 right. It is amazing, isn't it, this airport? Obviously you need quite a bit of grunt on your machine if you want it to appear smoothly. So you can see my machine's struggling, which it never normally does. But you throw too much at it, it's always going to struggle. So anyway, so we're coming back down. We'll cross over at A3 and go down along Alpha and then back for 7 right. Rather interesting. There's a levitating aircraft. I imagine that's because they haven't got the airport scenery, maybe. Yeah, this General Mitchell Milwaukee Airport is enormous, isn't it? There's so much to it. I guess it's more complex because it has the refueling wing is here. There's GA on site as well. It's not just an international airport, so we're not going to use the whole runway here. So we'll come in on the intersection. We don't need the whole runway. Okay, so we get lined up. And the final things we're going to go and do is, we've got seatbelt signs on, we're just going to check the lights. So we want the landing lights on, or sorry, nose lights go to takeoff. Let me turn the head tracking off for a moment. So, Alt 2. So down here we're going to go and put the landing lights on. going to put the nose to takeoff. If we go and have a look outside, you can see now got the lights lit up, and we are essentially ready to go. But the other thing we could do at this point is go and put the TCAS on. So does this aircraft have TCAS? Where is it? It's going to vary depending on which version of the aircraft you're in, I think. Yeah, so it would be here normally, but I don't think this version of it. Obviously you get slight variations in the versions of the airplanes. This one doesn't have it. Okay. So, park and brake off. Full throttle. Head tracking on. Rotate gently, gear up, and we can turn the autopilot on. We're in nav mode, remember, and we could go for profile mode, and we could go for auto throttle. Raise the flaps. And we're on our travels. So that was General Mitchell, Milwaukee Airport. Mike Kilo, Mike Echo. So we had a good look around the airport, and we've had a look at the Inibuilds. So it's an Inibuilds airport and the Inibuilds A300, which we just quickly raced through, getting the airplane ready. And if we were to continue on with the flight, we'd be off on our way to LaGuardia, sorry. But we're not. We're just going to leave it here. I think you've seen enough for the moment. So the main focus today was looking at the airport. Hope you've enjoyed that. I'll put a link in the notes of the video where you can go and find the airport on the Inibuilds website. And I'll see you again soon. Take care.